Jose Berrios, and I'm going to be presenting you gluten-free extruded lentil-based snacks rich in dietary fibers and protein. I come from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Agricultural Research Service, from a laboratory, one of the main laboratories in the United States, called the Western Regional Research Center, which is located about 20 miles from San Francisco. This is a view of our beautiful Golden Gate. And I just wanted to consider this a great opportunity where food scientists and nutritionists are together in order to create an opportunity for us to interact more and possibly create some collaboration in the near future. Pulses. See, we're going to be talking about the use of lentils. I thought that was appropriate to bring the definition of pulses. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, define pulses as an annual leguminous crop harvested solely for the dry grain, and therefore they exclude those considered vegetable crops, but also those grown for oil extraction as soybeans and peanuts, but also exclude those exclusively for sowing, used for sowing, such as clover and alfalfa. They consider or recognize 11 primary pulses, including dry beans and lentils and other of these particular grains. This is the basically a view of the largest producers of pulses in the world. And we can see over here that India and China by far are the largest producers of pulses in the world, followed by United Kingdom, Brazil, and others, but also that India and China are not only the largest producers of pulses in the world, but also the largest consumer. And most of these countries basically are exporters of pulses, with possibly an exception would be maybe Brazil, which is also a large consumer of pulses. In the United States, these are the states where pulses are produced, and basically the state of Washington, Idaho, and North Dakota are very high producers of lentils. Now, since my talk this morning is related to gluten-free, it's important to bring over here those gluten-free flour, cereals, and starches that are basically used in the production of gluten-free products. And we included over here the lentils. But also we can see over here that quinoa is a major player in the food industry right now of gluten-free products. However, there was an article by Ceballos et al. In 2012, which was published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, which indicated that quinoa do contain prolamines. And so it is important to have more studies to see the long effect of quinoa as a safe food of gluten-free. And these are the basically the forbidden grains, which I call the W-bro in order to remember them, it's easier, which are wheat, barley, rye, and oat. So those people who suffer of the celiac disease should be avoiding these grains. What is gluten? It's a common name for the natural protein gliadin and prolamines present in wheat and the other grains that we mentioned. The celiac disease is a digestive disease that damages the small intestine and interferes with absorption of nutrients from food. People who have the celiac disease cannot tolerate gluten. And these are the symptoms of the celiac disease. Particularly, the digestive symptoms are more common in infants and young children and may include all of these different symptoms, which basically can lead into malnutrition of nutrients during the years when nutrition is critical to a child's normal growth and development and can result in other serious problems. In the case of adults, these digestive symptoms are less likely to happen, but they have more of these other symptoms like fatigue, bone joint pains, arthritis, People with celiac disease may have also no symptoms, but still have developed complications of the disease over time, which this can include anemia, osteoporosis, liver disease, cancer, and among other health problems. And the market of the gluten-free products had been on the rise year by year, due that in the case of the United States, 1 in 133 consumers suffer of the celiac disease, and I believe there is about 1% worldwide people suffering of the celiac disease or some kind of a gluten intolerance. These are the nutritional health value of pulses. They are very high in dietary fiber. They are very high in protein, which is basically what the product that we're trying to target. They are high in phytonutrients, high in vitamins, particularly folic acid, high in minerals, low in fat, and of course, gluten-free. And with these remarkable nutritional profiles and health benefits associated with consumption of pulses, we consider that pulses are truly functional food and superfoods. And just to emphasize the presence of fibers in pulses, we see over here this high concentration of dietary fiber in all these pulses, including lentils, which are basically higher than those that we consider high source of dietary fiber in foods such as a whole wheat spaghetti or brown rice. These are basically the functions and benefits of the dietary fiber, soluble at the top and insoluble at the bottom. And we can see that the soluble dietary fiber is basically soluble in water, and they turn into gel during digestion, and they basically slow the passage of food through the digestive systems, which cause all of these benefits. And in the contrary, the insoluble dietary fiber are insoluble in water, and they speed the passage of food through the digestive systems, which can result in facilitate the regulation and alleviate constipation. One thing important to consider is that when we consume high concentration of soluble dietary fiber, we also have to consume largest amount of liquid to avoid constipation. When we combine both soluble and insoluble dietary fiber in certain ratios, we basically add both to the diet, and this may reduce the appetite, which is directly related to basically control problems like obesity, which is a major problem in the United States and around the world. So that the food pyramid also, the step to a healthy you tell us that we should be consuming a lot of varieties of food from the base of the pyramid, including beans or pulses. And we should be consuming a small amount of products that contain large amount of fat, sugars, and salt, and some exercise. Combined with that will be the perfect diet. This is a snapshot of the US today that indicates that we are doing a lot of snacking throughout the day. Basically, we are substituting the formal meal for snacking. We don't have time to be cooking and so on and so forth, but unfortunately, most of these snacks are loaded with fat and sugars, and so this has created a very serious problem, so that we get a homeland security issue in which 6 out of 10 Americans are overweight. This has created a huge concern, so that the First Lady Michelle Obama and the Department of Health and Human Services are now an initiative to reduce overweight and obesity in children and adults, and this to be done through a better nutrition and regular physical activity, because the vision of the general surgeons is to have a healthy and fit nation in which you have a very variety of food, including pulses possibly, and exercise. This is the global market in billions of dollars of the different food categories, in which we can see that the gluten-free market and those containing high dietary fiber are basically the fastest growth category on food. We can see an increase of a 20% growth rate, which is basically very unusual in food, in the food industry. We can see those growths possibly in the computer industry or so on, but not in the food industry. But because of the incident, because of this large alarming incidence of gluten sensitivity, some people are if they are not suffering the celiac disease, they prefer to be choosing gluten-free products in order to prevent. And this had been bringing all this food to a very high demand. So we could use ready-to-eat snack and breakfast cereals type product as a good vehicle for delivering nutrients and healthy components in a convenient, attractive, and tasteful gluten-free forms, which is needed. And one way to do that is using extrusion processing, which is a high-temperature, short-time processing, and we can develop a lot of different type of food, particularly those mentioned breakfast cereals and snack foods, but also we can do it in a different shape and forms, and also through extrusion, a lot of feed products can be made, and this is a huge market in the extrusion industry. The production of pet food, which is basically much larger than the production of food for human consumption at this point. Therefore, the objective of this study was the development of gluten-free, nutritious, lentil-based expanded extruded snacks and evaluate the effect of adding different sources of dietary fiber into the formulation with respect to acceptability of developed value-added snack-type foods, and the expansion characteristic, nutritional value, shelf-stability, and color of the fiber-fortified expanded extruded products. The materials that we used in this particular study were the raw materials lentils, wheat bran, which is basically used universally for fortifying products with dietary fiber, apple pomace, Nutrios, and whole grain corn flour. And we did a combination of these different formulations. And we got the raw material, we ground it into fine flours, we did the texture modifiers, flours, starches, and so on. We ran this one into extruder. We extrude this product, we expand it, create a product, dry it, and when we had the finished product. This is the extruder that we use. It's a pilot plant co-rotating 32 millimeter tuning screw extruder with capacity of 50 kilograms per hour and with the capacity of a screw speed up to 1200 RPMs. And we determine the expansion ratio, since expansion ratios is a very important characteristic of snack product, which is related to crispiness and crunchiness of the final product, and bulk density, which is related to storability. We did a sensor evaluation, a 7 hedonic scale, trying to look for the overall liking in taste and flavor, texture and appearance. And we did this in 3 different stages. The first and the second stages was a benchtop scale in which we used 10 untrained panelists choosing best 6 of 14 extruded products that we developed. And the final stage, stage 3, we used 65 untrained panelists choosing some of the best 4 extruded products. We determined the dietary fiber. We determined also the proximal analysis as an indicator of the nutritional value of the product, the water activity as an indicator of safety, and color as an indication of acceptability, visual acceptability of the product. This is the result of the sensor evaluation test. And basically we had over here that we had 4 different formulations. The first 2 were gluten-containing product, and these last 2, the gluten-free fiber ingredients or gluten-free products. And basically we didn't find any significant difference among these 4 final products developed. Then what we used was to use the product that we developed that we compared to commercial products, both in the snack and in the breakfast cereals type category. And this is basically a profile of the product that we developed. This one is the first two are gluten-containing extrudates, and the last two, the gluten-free extrudates. And we can see we have a very nice profile of insoluble to soluble dietary fiber. And here is the total dietary fiber in percent. So we basically compare this one to the snack type foods, and we selected some of the most predominant snack food in the industry, in the marketplace. In this case, happens to be from Frito-Lay. Nothing to do with the company, but it's just trying to get the most common product in this category. And we selected those gluten-free products that had the smallest and the highest content of soluble and insoluble dietary fiber. So we can see that even the lowest concentration that we had on soluble and insoluble dietary fiber were much higher than the product in the marketplace. And we also noticed that all of these products are basically 100% insoluble dietary fiber, while the product that we developed had a very nice combination of soluble and insoluble dietary fiber. And based on what we saw before, we see the effect, the nutritional effect, the health benefit effect of having a balanced soluble and insoluble dietary fiber in a diet. Then we went to go and test it against the breakfast, cereal breakfast type foods. And in this case, we have these Kix and nut Cheerios, honey nut Cheerios. And in the same way, and this one, by the way, is based on 28-gram serving. And over here, the total dietary fiber, soluble and insoluble dietary fiber. And we can see that in the case of the Mills Kix, this one has a much higher concentration of fiber. However, this is 100% insoluble dietary fiber, while we have our product developed with a combination of soluble and insoluble dietary fiber with the corresponding health benefits. And this is the expansion ratio and bulk density of the extrudate developed. Here in this axis is the expansion ratio, the bulk density, the two products are containing gluten, and the two products gluten-free. And we can see over here basically there is a high expansion that we obtain above 8, the minimum, and we have the highest expansion ratio with those containing wheat bran and Nutrios. But also we observe that there is a inverse relationship between expansion ratio and bulk density. That means the lower the expansion ratio, the higher the bulk density. The higher the expansion ratio, the lower the bulk density, which is expected. And basically we have, in the case of the proximal analysis, protein ranging between 16.1 to 18.3, which is a very high protein in a product. Ice concentration ranges from 3.5 to 4, as representing the minerals. Fat, very low fat content, and a moisture content of 9.5, with the water activity ranging between 0.4, 0.48, which is similar to those of dehydrated foods. The color, we use a hue value, and this one was in the range of 87 to 88, except for the formulation containing the corn, which was slightly lower, of 83. And this is basically a representation of the color of the product. So, conclusion of this study, we have that the sensory evaluation demonstrated that novel value-added and expanded extruded lentil-based snack fortified with gluten-free has a desirable crunchy texture and were highly acceptable by consumers, or in this case, the tester. The total dietary fiber content was similar among all the samples, ranging from 6.8 to 8.7. Samples containing Nutrios exhibit the highest soluble dietary fiber content. The nutritional value of the extruded snack is highlighted by their high protein, high dietary fiber, and very low fat content. Good expansion ratio of about 8 was obtained in all the fortified extrudate. Based on the water activity values, all extruded snacks are considered safe, shelf-stable products, and the hue value or pure color represented a desired tan color, and that the production of value-added pulse-based grain gluten-free expanded extruded food products rich in dietary fiber made for ready-to-eat snacks and breakfast cereals would provide a suitable, healthy, and safe food alternative to the large population suffering of the celiac disease and or gluten sensitivity, and gain a share of the increasing market of gluten-free products. And this is a patent application that we have in all this product. We just submitted a couple of years ago. We tested with a lot of people. We've been testing this product a lot, and they like it. My students like it. We went to school, and we tried those snacks over there. They love it. And I want to acknowledge my assistants, Mr. James Pan and Matthew Tom, collaborating in this study. This is my working team at the lab. I have 3 people from Brazil, 3 people from France, Mexico, and California at this time. This is some of the publications that I've been putting out in the last couple of years related to use of pulses and extrusion. And a new book that I basically co-edited, which is The Seed as a Function of Food and Nutraceuticals, New Frontiers in Food Science, which is just available recently. And I wanted to thank you for your attention, and I open to any questions, if it's possible.
Yeah, thank you very much. Any question?
Thank you very much. It was an excellent presentation.
Thank you.
My question is regarding the oats. Years ago, the oats being controversial. In some cases,
excuse me, what was?
Oats controversial before.
Okay.
Some studies show that it's safe for the patient with the celiac disease. I'm asking about the latest updates. Can we recommend the oats to the celiac disease patients or not?
I couldn't understand the question, I'm sorry.
Sorry, my question is regarding the oats.
The oat?
The oat.
Okay.
Can we recommend to the patient with the celiac disease or not? Years ago, the oats being controversial. In some studies, they said that it is safe for the celiac disease patients.
Yes, there is a lot. It's some controversy regarding oat, and they indicated that oat is basically almost a gluten-free product. I haven't seen any study to say, like in the case of the quinoa that has prolamines, but what happened is most of the oat is mixed with different other grains, and most of the cases is due to contamination. This is the information that that I've been getting mostly, is that it's due to contamination of oat with other cereals like wheat. In most cases, the oat is not sold separately, which possibly would be a good thing, but the industry in general combined the different grains, and through contamination, possibly oat has been included into the list of forbidden grains. Thank you very much. Yes.
There's a question here. Very nice presentation. Congratulations. I have just a question. Yes, I'm curious about what are prices when you produce these products? They are more expensive than normal snacks. They're the same price. So, do you have an idea if you produce this for all people? So,
the cost, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes, we haven't get into the cost at this particular point, but we think that could be competitive.
Okay, we are having one last question before the next presentation. Thank you.
Excellent presentation. I have actually two questions. Any idea what's the fiber intake of people with celiac disease?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I got.
Any data on the fiber intake of people diagnosed with celiac disease? And the second part of question is any other nutrient deficiency in that population that would this type of product be a vehicle for fortification to address the deficiency?
The deficiency of?
Like other nutrients are typical in celiac disease.
Well, the deficiency, I think that as we noticed, pulses are very rich in a series of different nutrients, and therefore is considered a superfood, basically because it's rich in protein, it's rich in dietary fiber, rich in vitamins, minerals, and considered gluten-free. Therefore, with respect to deficiency, I don't see absolutely any problem with deficiency. And there was another question attached to it, right? And there was
the fiber intake of people with celiac disease, because it's a great vehicle to give them more fiber.
Yes, this is what we developed is a gluten-free. We utilize gluten-free ingredients. In this case, gluten-free fiber. So therefore, they will convey the same characteristic of gluten-free product. There is no prolamines present in that product. Therefore, it will be safe. And with regard to the tolerance of the dietary fiber, there is the tolerance of the dietary fiber is up to 80. The requirement is about it's about 28 grams per 2,000 kilocalories. But the tolerance of dietary fiber is up to 80 grams per day. So this product will be safe.